To a cup of a different kind, the oldest existing football trophy in Australia. To find out more, Vito Sobral made his way to the New South Wales Southern Highlands last weekend.
Before the A-League, before the NSL, before Jules Rimet even contemplated the World Cup, a group of lads from Granville took on Scottish workers from the mining town of Joadja Creek in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales. It was the emergence of football in the young British colony.
Joadja Creek was born because of the want for kerosene, candles, waxes and so on. And so we didn't have any skilled workers here, or not enough. So an agent was sent to Glasgow, and he recruited all the men that were needed for the mining and the refinery and the chemists and the miners and the quarrymen. And yes, it was Scottish.
The year 1887, it finished Joadja 2, Granville 0, the Atkinson Price Challenge Cup, a 122-year-old piece of silverware that is now the oldest existing football trophy in Australia. In 1996, 85 years after Joadja Creek was shut down, the site was reopened to the public as a window into 19th century colonial living. An insight into that era wouldn't be complete without a reenactment of the famous match, where the winners would again lift what's become known as the Joadja Cup.
When we hit the floor of Joadja Valley, it was, I guess it was like an Alice in Wonderland experience, just dropping down into a totally different world that nobody had been into for nearly 90 years. And to then don the strips and walk out onto that field and realising that you were playing in the footsteps of these pioneers of 1887, that was quite extraordinary.
The valley was a remote part of a burgeoning colony, and in those days there was little to do except play the game that was capturing the imagination of Northern England and Scotland.
Matches at that time, if they went through to Sydney, were played, they would get changed in somebody's house. Then the marking of the field was basically the spectators forming the shape of the field. So things were pretty hard then, but it was about the only entertainment they had, other than maybe drinking.
You're looking at a 4 or 5 hours trip, and then they had to be transported by a second train down to the top of the valley and then go down to an incline. And to get there, they must have been absolutely exhausted. The last thing they probably want to do is play soccer, and I guarantee you that's exactly what the Scots took advantage of.
Peter Robertson's Scottish Arms Hotel in East Barrel isn't far from Joadja Creek, and he's tried to capture the pioneering Scottish spirit in his popular watering hole. He's also tried to keep the history of the Joadja Cup alive by organising a friendly match with teams representing England and Scotland playing for the trophy. Modern-day bureaucracy meant the organisers had to overcome nearly as many hurdles as in 1887, but they eventually found a way, and in honour of Joadja, the Scottish shirts bore the names of the original team.
Grab them up, boys! Come on! Take it to them!
It wasn't the same scoreline of 122 years ago. The match finished in a 2-2 draw, but the day was about much more than the result.
When we looked at the history of this football trophy and the people around it, it's a wonderful, wonderful legacy, and it deserves to continue. We'll do an annual event now and try and keep the history going locally. It's a wonderful community down here. It's a good football community, good people, and it's well worth doing.
For now, this piece of Australian football history will remain in the Southern Highlands, but there are those who hope the Joadja Cup will one day take a more prominent role.
Most people have a perception of football in this country as being a post-war, it's post-Second World War migrant game, and they don't realise that football goes back to the 1880s in this country. And if we can utilise that beautiful trophy, then I think that would be great to have as our National Challenge Cup. So if we have a National Cup competition, that trophy is presented to the winner. And that unites us with the history of our game in this country.
Vito Sobral with a fascinating report, and let's see what happens with the Joadja Cup in the years to come.